Welcome to another episode of the Musician's Gear. Welcome to a special episode of the Musician's Gear. Today I am joined by master performer and guitarist Jordan Saucier. Welcome, Jordan.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. All right, well, what do you say we get into some of these questions?
Yeah.
Some of them are going to be kind of based off your fractal system. Some of them may not be,
Sure.
So we'll just
Ready.
see what we got. See, it's like the lottery, Do they have my numbers?
Yeah.
All right, let's see what this first question is. What technique is the hardest for you to play on the guitar?
Oh man, that's embarrassing how easy it is to answer that. I've always been not the biggest alternate picker. In fact, that's like on my bucket list of things to work on, but straight alternate picking is not my favorite thing in the world. I've always been a little bit more like little legato bass, as these guys can attest here in the crew, what I've been noodling on while during sound check, but I'm just more of a legato thing and then more of like a straight blues kind of gristle. So that type of playing, I've always been a little bit more of a poser at.
Okay.
And so my right hand could definitely hit the gym a little bit. So that's alternate picking, and then maybe sweep picking too. But that's almost so niche.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even beat myself up about that. But like one of my biggest heroes is John Pertucci, and he's a monster alternate picker. And you would think I'd be really good at alternate picking, but I'm not. So yeah.
Well, there's always those skills that like you wish you'd be better at, and like I personally have a lot of stuff I need to work at as a guitar player, but like alternate picking, like yeah, it's crazy. I mean, some people are so good at it, and some people just like push away from it. So were you one of the people that like you knew it was a thing when you're first learning guitar and stuff, but like you kind of didn't want to deal with it?
Yeah, I think it was very subconscious, like especially when you first start playing, until you start to really get into the community, you don't really realize that there's really these names for things. Like there's alternate picking, which is more, everything's picked, and then there's legato, as the Brits say, legato. And I think I was listening to Angus Young when I first started. So a lot of that kind of stuff, and then Brian May. So big bands with the upper harmonics in there. That's where all that came from. So I wasn't about the alternate picking, and then because I was listening to Joe Satriani, once I started to check out some other really great guitar players, the legato just became like the idea in my head when I heard lots of notes, that type of sound, and that can use work as well. And so, I don't know, I think I just gravitated to it because also, with alternate picking, your left hand still has to be in pretty good shape. Not maybe as much of good shape as legato.
Yeah.
But some of it's laziness, honestly, to be honest. Some of it's just straight laziness. And I just love the sound. I played saxophone in high school, and like I said, a lot of my favorite guitar players are legato players, so it was just the sound in my head, and so it's what I worked on or what I naturally noodled on, and yeah, that's it.
So you think you're ever gonna get to the point where you're just like happy with it?
Probably never truly be happy with it, but definitely like I'm even to the point where I'm pretty happy with my playing now in terms of like I'm at peace with myself. Probably things that bother me more would be some of the jazz playing, like knowing what to play over a certain chord.
Oh yeah.
There's sometimes I still show up to jazz gigs and I'm just like, why am I still faking my way through this chord? I should just go ahead and sit down and figure that out. So that's probably what bothers me more than anything besides the technical things. But sometimes I have to learn riffs or licks that really involve that type of vocabulary, and then that's when I use the music as an excuse to work on that type of thing,
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I work a little harder, is to be able to play that kind of music.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting. No, I would have never guessed that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's see what the next question is. Big money.
Big money.
All right. Is it hard to stay motivated to practice?
Yeah, I ebb and flow with my motivation. Sometimes, really, where it can get really hard is if I'm practicing on something that's not really what I want to do, but it's just a gig. What's really, really hard, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier before we started rolling, but when you run into certain opportunities when you're like, this is the hustle in me that's made me pursue this opportunity, but realistically, if I would have just not pursued this and worked harder on the other things that I'm already in, I could have made it so that this was not even an issue, whether I needed to take on this extra work. And so for me, it's really hard to find motivation working on things and trying to be A-level playing and preparation when it's just like you're just not going to get a lot out of it. But anything you want to do really well. So that's where I have maybe some trick motivating practicing, but there's also some weeks where, like this week, I'm feeling like I'm almost stoked on the idea that I don't have a lot of new music to learn, and I just want to work on techniques. I want to revisit some of my original music that I kind of put to the side for the last month and a half. I want to transcribe some music, and I'm motivated to do that. But then other times I'm not really motivated to really practice for the sake of practicing, and it's more of a okay, what do I need to do to get through the weekend?
Yeah, what you have to do versus what you should be doing.
What I have to do for work. And so, but yeah, right now the idea of sitting down and shedding, as they say, sounds super appealing to me. Like I want to do it right now.
Well, all means, go for it.
No.
But so how would you call the practice blues, if you will? Like how do you fight that personally? Like when you get to the point where you're just like, you just don't really want to work on something that you really know you should. What do you do? Do you I know some people, they do the opposite of music. They'll go do something fun, right, to get their mind off of I need to work on this, and go for a hike or something, and then they'll come back to it, and then it's easier to come back to.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you made me think of a lot of things there. Yeah, so the last thing you said, go on a hike. I know for me, sometimes it's harder for me to work on what I'm working on if I haven't taken care of other aspects. So for me, starting your day off right, exercising, showering, eating well, getting the right amount of sleep, that's a huge start to setting yourself up for a successful practice session. Nothing to me feels better than sitting down, got your exercise going. Oh, as an aside, guitar players, as it gets a little colder, I've discovered this recently. If you're needing your hands to get warm up, drop down on the floor, do 20 push-ups. It gets the circulation going. It's if you haven't done them in a while, you might be a little shaky. I always am if I haven't done push-ups in a while, but I've noticed it warms up my hands. And so that gets me ready to go practicing, and I'll almost start to get a little puffy. There's almost too much circulation. Yeah,
that's crazy. Huh?
But the fight the practice blues, I think taking care of yourself, getting your ducks in a row is good. Number two, you talk about things that you should work on. There's an interesting, almost, you could call it maybe a dichotomy in the guitar community where you have some people that say you may not want to do this, but you should do it. It's good for you. It's the vegetables. And then you also hear the other part of the guitar community say, practice what you want, because that's just what's going to get you further. And I think that's really tough, conflicting information to reconcile. But here's the best way for me to reconcile it is there's different stages. If you're in college and you're paying tuition for someone to tell you this is what you need to do, you probably should just go ahead and eat your vegetables. But if you're someone that's in a spot like me, where most of the gigs that I do, I have the chops and the expertise to do the things that I need to do. Now, that's not to say there's not plenty of other gigs I'd like to get into that I do not have those chops or expertise. But for the most part, then it's just practice what you want. Yeah. Think about what it is that you can't do on a gig that's been bothering you, that you're just I just can't wait to get better at this. Don't worry about, before I can pursue this thing, I need to do this thing. Think don't let anything occur to you that you go, no, I can't practice that right now. I got to practice this first. practice that thing. Unless, of course, the thing that you think you need to practice first is what you need to do to put food on the table.
Yeah.
Then you got to do that. But always practice what you want. That's where I am in life. And then there's going to be other times where, after I do a little bit of that, practice what I need to. Vegetables. Maybe go grab a lesson do a lesson swap. Whatever you got to do. Maybe have someone poke some holes in your playing that you didn't realize you had. And so I would say go through stages. You can't be wrong if you alternate between eating your vegetables and practicing what you want. Going back and forth. You can't be too wrong if you alternate. Moderation.
Good point. All right, let's see. What is your favorite gig to date? So the favorite gig you've played so far.
It's weird. Recently, I've been getting weirdly nostalgic about this one gig I did with No Limits. And I think it's just because I got a little cool snippet of footage. It's this one we did in Georgia, May 2019, and there were like 30,000 people. That's what it says. I mean, there were so many people there, you couldn't tell how many people were there. But it was the event description said 30,000. And that was just one of those events where you just know that it's just like, man, this is so cool. And it's kind of like
an arena full of people.
Yeah. You just kind of, it's like one of those things where, we're constantly trying to put stuff on a resume. So that was a really cool one. I'm weirdly nostalgic about that. I just want to go back to that. Those are the best types of gigs. And then also, I really enjoyed going to San Francisco for this one gig I did with one of my other bands called Millennial Beat at the time. We played for the grand opening of Salesforce Tower. And it was just cool to be downtown San Francisco and do that and play that gig. It was a really sweet gig. I'm just weirdly nostalgic about that one too. But those are probably some of the coolest ones I've done. I'm nostalgic about a lot of these gigs right now.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the gigs I'm doing are just kind of like bar gigs right now. The casino stuff's been really cool, but that's been more cool because of the hang.
Yeah.
The Budge's room and going to Budge's room after the show.
Oh boy, you're maybe saying too much.
No, not like that. Everyone's there.
Oh, okay. It's that kind of party.
Yeah.
Dang. Time flies when you're having fun, right? Well, let's do a couple more, and then, this one's, I think, good for people that are aspiring guitar players or, want to get more into, the professional field of playing with people. How many hours a day do you practice, and what does it look like?
Gosh, I'm not a routine practicer. I just work on little things here and there. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but yeah, I don't. I think one of the big things is I stay busy enough with music and working on music. I'll practice something about the music, and I don't mean just run the song. I'll be like, oh gosh, this solo or this lick is giving me troubles. I'll make a little bit of a practice thing for that. In fact, that's, as an aside, I would say that's one of the biggest skills that you should get. If you're trying to get good at something, learn how to coach yourself. Learn from your teachers, but learn how to encounter problems and then help yourselves out of them, because that's really what you got to do, because no one ever is going to be able to micromanage everything about your playing.
Yeah.
You got to learn how to identify your own problems and issues and learn how to work on them. Record yourself playing, I think, is really big, and I don't mean just live, I mean even just try to make, if you don't have music to record and you're not being hired for anything, try to do a remake of a song from scratch, the guitars, and then if you're working on your producer drops, see if you can remake everything else too. Then you'll start to realize, oh gosh, I get away with a lot live, but in the studio, you get more discerning, I guess is what I'm saying. So I would say I don't really practice as much as I should, but I do play a lot.
Okay. No, that's good. There's some people so routinely, people are saying John Mayer spent so many hours a day, right, for 8 years or whatever it was, and then he came out of the practice room and then John Mayer was created, basically. But when you're in when you're in undergrad school or grad school or whatever, they're you need to practice this many hours on your main instrument, and It's definitely a good routine to get into, but like you were saying, a lot of it's just like real life problems that you're solving. Like, oh, I gotta learn this song. I probably need to practice a little bit more of my twang. I need to practice a little bit more of my I don't know, lead soloing or whatever it may be, you know. So
or like being able to improvise in time, because sometimes when we improvise, we'll tend to rush in a phrase or drag in a phrase. Put the metronome on and just, if you're gonna noodle, just noodle with the metronome on. That's one of the big things. People say stop noodling when you're practicing because you can make bad habits like, you know, I've been doing all day. And it's just like, yeah, but when do you ever get to play like that? Never, because being out of time is being out of time, right?
yeah.
And so if you're gonna noodle, put a metronome on and see how it feels, you know. But to answer your question very literally, I would say in general, if you're really trying to get good, a very realistic amount of time is 2 hours a day.
2 hours a day.
2 hours a day, split it between technique, repertoire, ear training things, fretboard knowledge, split it between different things. 2 hours is not 6 hours, 8 hours like you hear some people talk about, but it's also not 30 minutes, which would be more recommended for like the aspiring hobbyist. Like if you're really trying to get good, I think a lot of people who are really prioritizing it can fit in 2 hours. And if they do that every day, they will get much better. If I practice for 2 hours a day, I would get much better, but I don't.
Well,
I should.
There you go.
Yeah.
You're going to be watching this later and be like, I'm telling myself to practice more.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's do one more. There's some, time has been flying by because like I thought we'd go through all these and be like, I don't know. I just thought we'd go through them so quick, but like we've had so much to talk about.
I have a lot to say.
Good. Yeah, it's not a bad thing, like for sure. Like
yeah.
All right, let's see. This is a good one to end on. It's not as musically related. It's about Christmas, which is just our Christmas special. So, what is a Christmas tradition that you enjoy every year?
Oh boy. Well, since my immediate family moved away from more of my extended family, we don't have a lot of Christmas traditions. I would say I'm simple. I like it getting cold. I like hearing some of the Christmas music when I want to. I like the smells of food being made, pies, stuff like that. That's been happening in my house a little bit because Thanksgiving is tomorrow at the time of filming. And I like seeing the Christmas tree. I like it being warm in the house. I like people being in a good mood. I like the scarves. I like that warm, cozy feeling. I like the jazz Christmas music, as like we said. Other than that, not really a Christmas tradition I care so much about. It's mostly just the aesthetic. I like to enjoy the aesthetic the same way some people like to enjoy 4th of July smell of barbecue in the neighborhood, cut grass. Like I like the season. So
yeah, you're a very seasonal guy then. So Christmas season just hits you differently, right?
I just like the Christmas season, and one of my favorite things this contrasts a lot of people around Utah, but I really like the snow. Now I hate it as much as the next person whenever I got things to do and I'm getting issues, but like in terms of it not getting in the way of those things, I love it. Like I love going outside in it. I love seeing it. I love the way it just looks. I love everything about it.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Jordan Saucier loves Christmas time and the winter.
Mm-hmm.
You heard it here first. I mean, I guess you would if you live in Utah. You kind of either like have to embrace it or you just like hate it and eventually want to move away during the winter, you know. So
yeah.
All right. Well, so where can people like find you on YouTube and Instagram and all those types of things?
For sure. They can find me on Instagram. My first name Jordan, and then the beginning of my last name, Saucy, S-A-U-C-I. That's it. So Jordansauci. That's my kind of my artist name. That's Instagram, Facebook. You know, come say hi. You know, it's just my first name is Jordan and the last name Saucier, S-A-U-C-I-E-R. Jordan Saucier Music for my artist page. YouTube, Jordan Saucier, just my name. I've got a YouTube channel with a little bit of stuff on it. My email is my first name my last name music@gmail.com. And come get in touch, say hi.
And we'll add banners for these too so people can see them
excellent.
on the video. So,
love it,
yeah.
love it, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here, Jordan. I appreciate it. We'll have to do something in the future. I mean, like, I did not think we would go this long.
Yeah.
We still, like, we didn't even get to a lot of those questions, which is fine.
Yeah.
I can save for next time or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's because I'm just, we love what we do. We love music. We love to talk about it. I already like to talk in the first place. So I got a lot to say, so I, just really enjoyed this, hanging out with y'all.
Well, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being here again, Jordan. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Go to
smash that like button.
Smash it. As he said, I have a hard time like being like a lot of those YouTubers, just like smash that like button, everybody. I have a hard time with that, just because it's not really me. But also head over to Jordan's like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube even, and just follow him. He has a lot of good stuff. He just added a video reel. Or performance reel. I noticed some of the shows he was talking about. I think we're on there, and
it's good if you're trying to become a professional. Like I'm like, I've been doing this for how long now, and I still have to go. You want footage of me performing live, or you want footage of me playing? What do I send you? And then it's just like, duh, make one reel that showcases you well. You just send people. You just gotta have one. Gotta make one.
There you go. You heard it here. So. Anyways, I hope you had an enjoyable time watching this. Have a good Christmas, everybody, and we'll see you in the next video.
Peace.